Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast. John Duncan here, and of course, I'm joined as always with both of my co-hosts, Jimmy Marion and Darian Smith, and we've got an exciting basketball episode of the Blazer Victory Podcast for you all today. And before we get started with that, this episode is brought to you by Cahaba Brewing Company. Shout out to Cahaba, and hey, next Tuesday, February 11th. That will be our last regular season watch party for the UAB basketball season. So 6 o'clock next Tuesday night, come on down and watch us as UAB takes on East Carolina. And then that's not an easy game. You know, East Carolina's playing pretty good basketball. I know they just lost, but they're playing pretty good basketball as of late. So it should be another good time at the Cahaba Brewing Company. And hopefully we'll witness some more Cahaba magic as we did last time for the FAU game. And YouTube, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button on the bottom. I think, yeah, it's at the bottom at Blazer Pod. So we're still on the trail to get the quest to get to 500 subscribers for the Blazer Victory Podcast channel. But guys, what a loaded game to unpack from Monday night is UAB defeats North Texas 64-61. Y'all knew it was gonna be a close game. Every single time these two programs, these last few years, have collided on the basketball court, it's gonna be a one possession game late. Normally, who has the ball at the end, they're gonna probably win it. And UAB did 64-61. Jimmy, I saw you in Bartow Monday night. What's your just initial observations from recapping that 64-61 thrilling win for the Blazers?
Well, first and foremost, it was great to be back in Bartow Arena and further to be some energy surrounding the Blazer basketball team because, we've talked about it throughout the podcast that, some of the momentum that we had early in the season had been lost. The team wasn't playing to their standard or where they wished to have been playing early on. And, we're getting to that critical part of the season where typically that momentum from winning is building and the crowds are getting larger and the talk about the program is getting better and more substantial. And so last night felt a little bit of that, just arriving at the game. I remember I showed up kind of right before tip and I was in the normal parking lot and I was like, dang, this parking lot's, about full, and walking in and, seeing everybody there. And just, so first thought was just, shout out to everybody that supported the team, whether you were there or not, just being engaged, whether you're watching UAB get a victory on national television. How about that? We talk about that from every once in a while, but that was great. And you mentioned it, John. North Texas is a tough team. They're a team that gives not just UAB, but lots of team struggle. This is the same team, North Texas, right, that went to, I think it was Minnesota earlier in the year. And I think they played a Utah State team close, but they beat Minnesota on the road. And their rankings were good, Ken Palm and net ranking wise. And AK joked about it being kind of like going to the dentist, right? And that's what it felt like during the game. This game, one of the things for me was like it was pretty different than the New Year's Day game that we got together. Speaking of being at Cahaba, because the New Year's Day game was one team was up 18, I think it was, at halftime, and it was your kind of game of runs, and it was a little bit more high scoring. I think I wrote it down that in that first game, the teams combined to hit 19 threes, and I think it was attempt 47 free throws, and North Texas had Atten Wright and Joseph, who came off the bench, score combined 44 points. It was just like a different, despite it being North Texas, a little bit more up tempo because UAB kind of, got up on them early. But this was your typical UAB North Texas rock fight, and before I go too lengthy here in the opener, I'm just proud of the way in which the UAB basketball team met the physicality that was presented by North Texas. I'm proud of the way that UAB was able to have a close outing in which they were able to come out on the winning side. I'm proud that UAB did not shoot the ball or score the number of points that's accustomed to doing, but they did not hang their heads about that. And they just fought to the very end, got stops when they needed to, hit free throws at critical moments when they needed to. You accident in the game, got blocked shots that got called for fouls that weren't fouls there at the end, and overcome a little bit of adversity as well. But just overall, really pleased with UAB and really happy that they're able to start off this first 10-game conference season with a record of 8-2.
Yes. Well, Darian, what's your just initial thoughts from the game?
I This was probably my favorite game from a technical standpoint. Just seeing them how, even though I want to see it more from this team, but I feel like it was more attention to detail on defense, right? Sometimes I feel like, and it was way less gambling. Y'all know I've said it multiple times. Y'all know how I feel about the 1-3-1. I know that it has produced results, but man, for me, it's so feast or famine. Like it's not worth it getting that open corner three that just kills or it starts momentum for the other team, or something like that. I can't. It's just I guess every time I'm kind of like clutching my pearls. Like every time I see us in that 1-3-1, it's either we're gonna get a steal for a dunk or it's gonna be an open corner three. And I just like the fact that we went to that like way less this game, and our zone defense looked a lot more airtight. It was a lot better communication. We get killed in the corners a lot, especially in the zone. That's where you're attacking the zone, and then you overload one side, and then you have a guy in the corner. And we did a great job. It was like we would get out of a zone and we would scramble into man once they overloaded that one side. And it's like, all right, we would get into man. I'm like, man, this is a different switch up. I like it. And it confused North Texas because we were in one defense, we scramble out to another, and then if we had mismatches, another thing, if we switched and we had mismatches, we had guys, the bigs would scram our little guys out, get out of there. So when it was time, when we had some time, we did a lot of things defensively. It was so much more attention to detail, and I appreciated that. It was much more attention to detail on help defense. We didn't leave guys on islands as much as we kind of do, and this is the type of growth you need to see, especially when we go back and we face Memphis again, a team that really dominated us especially because we switched a lot, right? And they just pounded that switch, and we had multiple looks. It was less feast and famine, and we just kind of depended on our skill. Honestly, I told y'all this. They hit some tough shots. Um, there was a couple times they were dead in the water, and they just had I forgot the name of the guy, but he was just dribbling to like a mid range and hand out Jabari McGee hand in his face, and I was just like, dude, that's a bad shot at the end of a shot clock. I mean, and then we kept them in. We were missing. It's a little time in the second half. We were missing our open shots, and we was having good actions. I mean, Butter coming off of he free in the corner. They set the screen down. Three, bam, Vasquez a couple times. He missed a couple open shots, and it was just a couple sloppy turnovers. And I'm just like, dude, if we just make our shots and they miss the shots they should miss, we'll probably be up 15 right now, right? Like, but the game didn't go that way, and that's how basketball goes sometimes. That's how sports go sometimes. You get breaks. I really felt like North Texas got breaks this game, and I felt like we played more complete than the score indicated. Um,
Mm.
but I love the resiliency in that. I'm pretty sure that was frustrating. Like when you see a guy just hit some BS. It was one
Mhm.
shot when the guy just kind of threw up and it just went in. I was
Oh,
like,
Yeah,
at
what
the
is
at the
that?
at the shot clock, yeah.
yeah.
I was like, come on, man. But that's disheartening, knowing that you did everything right for like 32 seconds, and then it's some guy just throw something up and they go in, and it's causing it to be a tight game because they do have a good defense. And we were getting good shots against their good defense, and we were missing more than I liked us for us to miss. So, but through all of that, a couple of games ago, that's a game we would lose because we would drop, we would start trying to play hero ball, and we would pay less attention to detail on defense. And we'll end up, that's how we lost the 18-point lead the first time, that momentum in the game. But this game showed the growth in this team. And I think we can build on it. And I just can't. We're going to stick to North Texas, but I just want to throw this nugget in here. I can't wait to see Memphis again. I cannot wait, especially seeing us perform and commit to the details the way we did this game.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what a game! And I saw, after the game, going on to Twitter, and I see a lot of North Texas fans upset about the officiating. I know we were all upset about the officiating, but with that type of game, you kind of have to call it
what was
close.
It about the officiating that they would be mad at? Like you fill me in. Like, what was it? Some calls?
According to some North Texas fans, we got a lot of home cooking. Darren. Yeah, I know. Yeah, hey.
No, we did not. I'm literally asking for, like, what are the sequences that we got the home cooking on? Because I do not recall.
They were saying that when they were driving in the paint, their guys were getting punched by our guys and yada yada. Man, that did not happen. But
no, hey, North Texas basketball can't be saying this. Not North Texas basketball. Come on now, they are known, and listen, it's such a healthy respect and rivalry we have with North Texas, so this ain't junk talk at all. They are known. They are probably the most physical team basketball wise in the AAC. Come on now, it was.
And Andy even said it in his post game presser. Yeah, I mean, I agree. They are the most physical team in this American Athletic Conference.
So
yeah,
we can't.
I mean. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, we all watched the game. I think there's, I'm sure there's our fair share of UAB fans, if not ourselves at times, that thought that, hey, our team wasn't getting calls. So hopefully there wasn't many North Texas fans that felt that way. I mean, you look at some of the statistics, though. I think it was even in terms of fouls, 14 for both teams. And you look at a team like UAB, when you combine the way in which UAB plays offensively, which is to attack and prioritize getting to the free throw line, with a team like North Texas that plays as physical as they do. A team like UAB averages 15 made free throws a game and almost 21 free throw attempts per game. And in this contest, they had 10 made free throws and 13 free throw attempts. To me, I'm surprised, just as we saw in the last game in which there was many foul calls in UAB. I mean, I recall even, I guess it was last year, UAB traditionally gets to the line a lot against North Texas. I think for those reasons, when the game gets tight and the way that UAB likes to play. So to me, just having been there, but also looking at the statistics where it's like both teams were even in terms of fouls, and despite UAB having the quote unquote, home court advantage, only having 13 free throw attempts. I don't know about that home cooking. I thought there was moments in the game where, whether it be like one of our guards, McGee or Vasquez, where they were playing, I think it was one time McGee had like a big bucket coming down and he was amped. He was guarding the guy coming down the court, and like he got a little bit too physical and they called it. And, I remember looking at Brad, like, yeah, that was a foul. Another time where Vasquez, was basically holding both hips on the the offensive play, the guy with the ball, and that was called. And there were several times in which I remember looking at Brad and being like, yeah, that we both said, yeah, that was a foul. Like, what are we doing? So yeah, probably just emotions, how we all get like after a game. I thought it was pretty fair. I could point to what I thought. I didn't see it on TV, but I thought it was interesting, like it looked like. And Darren, you might be able to say like what the TV shot looked like, but it looked like, I thought that the North Texas player when McGee and the North Texas guy got wrapped up on one another. Like it looked like the North Texas guy kind of pushed off a little bit more. I thought that they were going to call fouls on both McGee and the North Texas guy, which they did, but I thought that it would potentially be like a flagrant on the UNT guy. And then I hope that it was as clear on TV for those of you that watched it on TV that block that I thought Yaks got at the end was as clean as could be, that they called as well. So I don't know. It's like any other game. It's just it could go both ways, and it did go both ways. UAB likely got the bailout on stuff. How about UNT at the end when they're out of timeouts and we're at the free throw line and Yaks is there for the second of a 1-and-1, and all of a sudden one of the North Texas, it was right down there where we were sitting, pointed to his teammate in the lane and was like, "Hey, is your arm bleeding?" Yeah, it is. Like, let's go get that, checked out. And they got a damn near free timeout there at the end. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it shouldn't have been addressed, but I mean, it was just interesting how someone else had to be like, "Hey, you go get that checked out." So, whatever.
Yeah, and then I think during that time you shouldn't allow a ref to come over while he's getting. I mean, allow a coach to come over while he's getting checked out and getting wrapped up. You don't allow him to come over with a clipboard and he's over there drawing up the play and telling him what to do as a free timeout. That block was clear as day. He got all ball, and then as he pushed the ball out of his hand, he hit his wrist. It was not a foul. It was all ball, and then like can't be mad that he forcefully blocked it to where it hit your wrist after the ball is flying out of bounds. That's the clean block, and it was clear as day. I think my TV froze for a second during the Jabari McGee moment, that foul. So I wasn't able to see that one. But as far what I'm looking forward to for this team, I think we're finding a camaraderie within the new guys that's on this team. You can tell they found their role. Ezwero has really found a role. I know he was really struggling to find a role earlier on and was trying to force things, but now he has he's like this physical presence. Now he can play above the rim. He can get putbacks. He isn't trying to do too much, right? He isn't trying to forcefully score anything. I think Tyron Moore has settled into that backup point pretty good. Jabari McGee has settled into the starting point really good. And everybody has found out where they need to be. I really love Vasquez has kind of like rediscovered his playmaking ability. He does this little herky jerk, right? This hesitation thing that he does every time. It's like a stop, and every time, and then he plays off 2 feet when he comes to a stop. He plays off 2 feet really really well. I love that he kind of rediscovered that. So it's kind of like everybody. I saw Christian Coleman post like he refinding his swag, right? I saw him be aggressive, and instead of trying to go through guys, he was using his quickness to go around them, then finish strong. He's not the biggest guy, but he is very lanky, very explosive, and he can just dribble past you, right? And it's like he found out that he can be aggressive and go around. So it's like everybody is finding their roles. So now what I'm looking for is for them to keep paying attention to detail on defense. I want to see us grow defensively. I think it's still was a couple times where we fell asleep. I think Jabbar McGee gave up an and one because he kind of fell asleep to the guy in the corner, and the guy got the ball and went fast, went around him, and then it was a foul as he tried to. You can tell he was disappointed in himself. But it's little things like this. A couple times on help defense, Yaks was right there, and he kind of was just like stuck to his guy. I'm like, hey man, we got a small getting posted up by a big. He needs help, right? It's just a couple little small details like that. I feel like if we iron those out, in which I see us actively iron it. I don't know why our teams do this every year. Like I don't know. Maybe this is the new college basketball because almost every team is essentially replacing their whole team every year. So it's like you got a jail, and I guess the teams that don't have to go through that period, I guess they're just really supremely talented. I guess. I mean, if you're Duke, I mean, you can jail with your talent along the way. Whatever. You got Cooper Flag. Who cares? But if you're UAB, it's like you got these new guys, and it takes takes a while to kind of get it together, and maybe that's just our new reality, right? Um, Only thing about in college basketball that kills you at the mid major, it kind of kills your chances to be at large, and I
Hmm.
hate that. I see Iowa State and these teams, they can lose back to back to back, and they're still ranked like 16. I'm just like, oh, what if UAB you lose three in a row? Our at large chances are gone, just like
Hmm.
that. So I don't know. I hate that part of it, but I'm still curious about this team, and how we'll finish and how we'll grow. It just seems like last year all over again, and I don't fear us going against anybody in this conference, anybody, any team. Um, so we'll see. This is around the time last year, I believe, when Memphis started breaking down anyway.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see. But I'm confident in AK. I'm confident. All this time we didn't even talk about our boy Yax.
Yeah. Hey, 15th double double of the season. 15 double doubles, man.
Can and
First
can we just
first round
admit?
talent.
Yeah. Can we just admit too that I mean 17 and 13 against UNT is like what's that like the equivalent of like 30-20 versus a team
Yeah.
with average or better like pace and tempo or whatever. How cool Darian just mentioned first round talent. How cool is it? I was sitting there with Big Jim last night and I was talking to him about like growing up on our side of the court, they had two tables behind the goal over there. And I remember being going to games as a teenager, and there were NBA scouts, that would attend some games. And said, I don't know where they sit now. I don't. They certainly don't sit right there because I don't see them. But I asked Big Jim the other night or last night, there should be NBA scouts here watching Yaks. Like, where are they? And then it was cool to go on the X after the game and see several posts about scouts being in attendance in Bartow. So I know if you know where they sit, John, if you see them, but there should be NBA scouts there every single game. Uh, the last several games, yeah, kind of interesting is those closing situations. I don't know if y'all remember last year, there were some times where Butta would like kind of close with the ball, versus like EG. But this year you're seeing like Yaks at 6'8" or 9, whatever he is, closing with the ball and like the trust that AK has in him to let that shot clock dwindle and then Yaks is going to make a play is like very impressive. There was a game, I think it was at Tulsa, where Yaks had a couple of plays, and one of which was a dump off pass to McGee, like in the lane, and McGee, made a bucket there late. But to see the evolution of Yaks from where he started at UAB, tentative and just everything within 6 to 8 feet of the basket, to see him venture out and start shooting it, but then the evolution of like, no, he's handling the ball, versus just getting it the key and shooting it and like having the ball in his hands with the pressure and the attention that he gets. They talked about that's one thing that we kept saying was like ultimately, what is this UAB team going to do offensively to make up for the fact that Yaks is getting double teamed like every time he has the ball. And UAB was able to make just enough shots. I'm glad that you mentioned that, Darren, of like just hey, we did spend all that time and we haven't mentioned Yax's name. And I really hope that this end of the season goes as well for UAB as possible. It's team first, but I hope that as UAB team improves and competes for a regular season and conference championship, that Yaks is at the forefront of that, and that we can spend an NBA draft night and hear a UAB player called, and then be able to watch him. But Darren, maybe we can get. There's so much going on with the Lakers. Maybe we can get Trey Jemison with LeBron and Luca and add Yaks to the mix. Like maybe they can get
Bro,
a
like what
second
the
round.
hell was that trade? Luca, what? What in the world?
No, I had to went to sleep, and y'all know I'm a big NBA fan. I'm a Lakers LeBron guy. So I went to sleep, and I woke up to go to the bathroom. I was like, what is going on with my phone? What have they talked like? It was like Bleacher Report, ESPN, all over. I'm like, Luca, like this doesn't even make sense. Like,
Mm-mm.
and then when so I was like, this ain't real. Like, I was believing that ESPN. I was like, this is not real. So I went to that was what it. Then once it really hit, I couldn't like catch my breath. Like, oh my god, like, you got Luca. This is crazy. But yeah, back to Yaks. I just when you were talking, Jimmy, John, I was just thinking about just last season when Yaks in the first beginning when he was coming off the bench. Now I remember
Mhm.
y'all we was talking about Yaks and it was kind of like, man, if he can just get some confidence,
Mm.
we think he can be a good piece. Like, oh look at Yaks, right? He's athletic. He can provide some dunks and he can rebound. That's what we were talking about. I was like, he just
Yep.
need a little bit more confidence and he can do something. He can be productive, a rotation member. And then I can't remember the game. I wish I could remember the game. We have to go back and look. But it just made me think about that pod. I remember that pod where we was just like, oh, he's growing into a player, right? Like, look at him go. Look at him rebound the ball. We were still talking about like give it JD, like dump it.
Yep.
That's our main guy, in which JD was very successful here. But it was kind of like dump it down to JD and Yaks can get rebounds. And now we're talking about a guy that's we putting the ball in his hand on the wing. He's driving, going right, pulling up jumpers and shooting threes, getting hacked, getting and ones. Like
With
he's
the
scoring
flu too, yeah.
with the
Yeah,
flu.
flu
So
game.
the growth of Yak and what that says about AK, right? AK can find that potential in you, and AK can allow it to blossom. I think this is a hell of a recruiting story. If I'm a recruiter and kind of ho hum about some schools or whatever, I can always look at Coach AK and say, look, what he did with that kid and what he did with that kid before him and Jelly Walker, what he did with those, he allowed when he sees the potential in stars and he gets the best out of them. I can trust that. The history is right there.
Mm.
Hey, I was just going to say the coming out party in terms of um, last season, Yaks had 19 and 10 at home against Furman. He played 38 minutes. He went 8 of 10 from the field. That was his first double-double game in a Blazer uniform. And then he went on a few games later to go on like a 7 or 8 game streak in which he just scored where he scored double-digit points. But when I was looking through this, I was just getting that flashback. You remember that random game at UTSA where he went 5 of 6 from 3? That
Yes.
was like one of
Yes.
those things I remember just watching it on like ESPN Plus, and I'm like, oh, and everybody was shocked because I don't think at that point he had hit maybe one, if even one, maybe two for the
Mm.
entire season. He just went like 5 of 6 at UTSA. But yeah, we'll have to have a when Yaks gets drafted. After somebody said, I don't know if it was on the broadcast, but I thought I saw no. Someone had made a comment on X about like come watch Yaks before he's playing in the NBA or the SEC. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear
Oh,
about him playing in the SEC next
yeah.
year. I want to hear about Yaks playing in the NBA. I want him to get a bag. I want it to be the professional bag. I want him to take, UAB, go from UAB to the Lakers or the Hawks or who cares, anywhere, not picky. So hopefully we're able to celebrate. And then my point was we can just have a whole episode. Hell, we need to get him on. But if we don't get him on, we just have a whole episode of just a Yaks episode and go through our favorite moments because that dude freaking deserves it, man.
Yeah, we'll get him on at some point. And hey, when he's drafted, man, all bets are off. Hey,
Hmm.
he can come on the pod finally. Um, hey, hell of a win. And Yaks is special. I want Blazer fans to realize how special this man has meant to this program and this city. Enjoy it, guys. Enjoy it. Get to Bartow. Hell, if you're able to get to Fort Worth next month, go to Fort Worth for the tournament. But just realize the Yaks of Lindeborg is, hey, he's special, and that's what all we'll say. But after the dub last night, UAB has sole possession of second place, just a game behind Memphis. We know Memphis is going to slip up eventually. That's what Memphis does. Hell, Rice almost got him a couple of days ago. And hey, we'll get him in Bartow in a few weeks. But this is what you want to see. You know, we've spent 30 minutes on it. This is what you want to see at this point of the season in February. Guys knowing their roles, communicating on the court. We see the progress from this team, from that Vermont game all the way up until now. Things are looking a lot better, and they're playing exciting basketball on the South Side. So tough game next Tuesday at East Carolina. That kind of a trap game. They're not the best teams, but they're playing well lately. So get on out to Cahaba Brewing Company Tuesday night at 6:00 and come cheer on the Blazers against the Pirates with us. But guys, anything else on the basketball front?
Hey, one more thing you talked about Memphis is that for those of you that are listening, go ahead and start planning now and talking to people now to not wait to buy tickets, because Memphis, they may be top 10 when they come into, here, they top 15, wherever they are. I think it's a Sunday game, relatively
Sunday
easy
at 3
travel
o'clock.
relatively easy travel for Memphis fans to wake up that morning, head to Birmingham, and take up all those seats in that lower bowl and have their flashing blue lights, in there saying TIGERS Tigers. So if you don't have your tickets yet, or of people that are wanting to go to the game and they're just kind of planning on waiting, hey, I'd encourage you to go ahead and start wrapping all that up right now, because there's going to be blue in that arena for sure. We just want to try to limit that to the best of our ability. I know UAB is going to show out. They always do for the Birmingham or in Birmingham for the Memphis game. But just a little note you made me think about there, John. If y'all haven't started thinking about it yet, go ahead and purchase those tickets. But no, I don't have anything else on the last night's game.
And on that, real quick, we just bought our tickets a couple of days ago. So they are selling. We had to kind of get that upper level. But yeah, UABsports.com, get your tickets for that game right now. Darren, you good, bro?
Oh yeah, I'm still active over here. I was listening out over here, but yeah, I'm good, bro. I ain't got nothing else.
All right. Well, this might not be the last episode this week on the free feed of the Blazer Victory podcast, so stay tuned. Jimmy Marion, send us out for now.
Hey, y'all have a great week. Go Blazers.